Hello and welcome to a special edition of Slovenian magazine. Today we're taking a walk through the Vipava Valley in the west of Slovenia. The valley is known for its vine, picturesque villages, castles, mansions and of course the Bora wind, which blows with speeds of up to 200 kilometers per hour in the winter months. About 40 kilometers long, the valley lies on the crossroads of history, at the meeting point of nations and cultures. It's a place where the paths between the east and the west have run for thousands of centuries. The valley is open towards the west, from where the beneficent influences of the Mediterranean come, while on its eastern end it's guarded by Nanos, a high karst plateau.
At the entrance into the Vipava Valley, Mount Nanos stands like a watchful guard, visible from all directions and swept by the Bora wind. At 1,330 meters above sea level, at its highest point, and 12 kilometers long, this karst plateau separates the continental part of Slovenia from the littoral. It is here that the Mediterranean and the alpine climates meet, and the famous Vipava Bora wind is formed. Due to exceptional botanical diversity, here you can find lilies of the valley, gentians, wild lilies and much more. And intact nature, the southern and western slopes of Nanos have been designated as a regional park.
The
woods are mixed. There's fir, beech, spruce, maple, sycamore, elm and an array of bush species. Yes, there are many kinds, for example the dog rose, the honeysuckle, the elder buckthorn, the whitebeam, the hawthorn, to name just a few. There are also many species that can be used for various herbal teas and the like.
Due to the overgrowth of disused meadows, the share of woodlands is on the rise year in, year out. For this reason, the area has become a natural habitat for many animal species, including bears, wolves, lynx, deer, chamois and various birds of prey, the most majestic of which is without doubt the eagle. Small churches can also be found on the slopes of the plateau. The best known is the pilgrimage church of St. Jerome, the patron saint of sailors, dating from 1565. The diverse karst world with its limestone bedrock hides many chasms and ice caves. The most notable among the latter is the Great Vipava Ice Cave, in which ice was once cut to be transported to Trieste by carts. Nanos is traversed by the Slovenian Mountain Trail and the Slovenian Geological Trail, as well as a European footpath. There are two mountain lodges here, the Vojko Lodge and the 500-year-old Abram tourist farm. The plateau is a popular destination for walkers, climbers and paragliding enthusiasts alike. The best known and most visited part is the peak called Plesha, an exceptional panoramic viewpoint featuring the Nanos Broadcast Center. In the past, sheep used to graze on Nanos, making it possible for delicious Nanos cheese to be produced here as early as the 16th century. The sheep are long gone, so the cheese, which has received the EU's protected designation of origin standard, is now produced from cow's milk. At the Koren homestead, at the foot of the plateau, this hard, high-fat cheese is produced using a traditional natural method with no pasteurization.
The Romans left an indelible mark on the Vipava Valley, as it was part of the Roman Empire's eastern borders defense system. In the 3rd century, a fortified settlement called Ad Fluvium Frigidum by the Cold River was built on the spot where Aidovština, the administrative centre of the valley, rises today. The remains of the settlement's defence walls are considered among the best preserved Roman defence walls in Europe. The settlement was named after the Hubal, a karst torrent on the banks of which it developed. The spring of the Hubal, just above Aidovština, where water surges up from numerous holes in the rock, is considered a natural attraction. The Hubal is the greatest affluent of the Vipava river, after which the valley and the town at the start of it were named.
Stone houses with neat facades, wooden balconies, and intricately carved stone doorways in the shape of upside-down ox horns. Vipava is not characterized just by its typical architecture. This is also where the Vipava River bubbles up from 5 central springs, the only river in Europe with a delta-shaped source. Its waters pour to the surface from pure rock and flow under numerous bridges that are virtual symbols of the town. The bounty of water and the effects of the mild Mediterranean climate have enabled Vipava to become densely settled in the past.
We, the residents of Vipava, are fairly tough people, mostly because the Bora wind blows here, sometimes ranging at more than 200 kilometers per hour and giving the valley a special character.
The wind-blown valley is extremely fertile. Native types of white wines include Klarnica, Pinela and Zelen. In its 125 wines on display, the Vipava wine cellar brings together the rich knowledge of winemakers from the upper Vipava valley. Rich harvests of fruit, vegetables, wine and olive oil, favorable living conditions, have attracted manor-owning gentry to Vipava, and they left magnificent buildings behind. Perched above Vipava are remains of the Romanesque Stari Grad, Old Castle, which was built in the 12th century. The main square in Vipava is dominated by the Lantieri Manor. It was built in the mid-17th century and was remade in the Baroque style after renovations in the 18th century, when it also got a new balcony and plasterwork in its central part. The manor's English-style garden once covered a large area. Along the park's pathways, there were statues of putti or cupids. These adorable statues of angelic boys are now lined up at the park's entrance. The importance of the Lantieri family is indicated by frescoes in the choir area of St. Stephen's Church. They were made in the second half of the 19th century by painter Janez Wolf, who portrayed Count Lantieri as a philanthropist with bread in his hands and his wife next to a beggar. The originally Gothic church from 1556 was later rebuilt in the Baroque style. It's surrounded by neatly kept facades of houses. A long time before Vipava's streets were created, some 4,500 years ago, 2 sarcophagi were carved out of red marble in ancient Egypt. Since the mid-19th century, their home has been the Vipava cemetery. They were brought here by Vipava resident Anton Laurin, the first Austrian consul in Egypt and an antiques collector. In these sarcophagi, members of the Laurin family have been laid to rest. And because traces of ancient Roman settlement have been found here, Vipava truly is a town of the millennia.
In the 17th century, the Lantieri counts had this prominent summer residence built on a hillock by Vipava. In the pleasant shade provided by the arcaded hallway that completely surrounds the Zemono mansion, the Vipava lords would once keep cool and have fun. In the vicinity of the mansion, the famous Battle of the Frigidus was fought at the end of the 4th century. It meant the victory of Christianity over paganism and represented the start of the fall of the Roman Empire. The winner, Emperor Theodosius, is believed to have commanded his men from this very hillock. Legend has it that he was helped to victory by the famous Bora wind, which redirected the arrows of his opponent Eugenius's army. One of the surrounding hills features Vipavski Križ, once an important medieval center of the valley, and today a precious monument of cultural heritage.
The hill on which Vipavski Križ stands, in the middle of the Vipava Valley, has been settled as far back as in prehistory. As an excellent control point, it was eminently suitable for a prehistoric hill fort, as it offers a view of the entire valley. In the middle of the 13th century, the settlement of Vipavski Križ was mentioned as Villa Crucis, while its real blooming came in the 16th century when, in 1532, the settlement received its town rights. The layout of this small town shows the former social stratification of society, the aristocratic part with a castle and a monastery, a square in the middle, and, on the other side of the ascent, a settlement with a parish church. Only a part of the wall, with its two entrances into the town, is well preserved. It was built as a defense against Venetian and Turkish invaders. The castle has a Renaissance design with 4 round towers, while the town walls also date from the end of the 15th century. Today, the castle mostly lies in ruins, with only one renovated part holding the primary school and a kindergarten. The Capuchin monastery was built by the Counts Attons. It was completed in 1637 together with the monastic church of St. Francis, which houses some nice examples of Baroque panel painting. In the monastery dining room, we can find a painting of the Last Supper in a Friuli Venetian style from around 1700. The monastery library once housed more than 10,000 books, though today only a few thousand remain. The most precious among them is a codex manuscript, a prayer book from the 15th century. Most of the books were destroyed or disappeared after 1917. Today, 8 Capuchin monks live in the monastery, continuing the tradition of the preacher and originator of Slovenian church oratory, Janez Svetokriški. The Capuchin monks also involved themselves in gardening, fruit cultivation, and the production of olive oil. Ancient narrow streets bring us to the parish church of the Exaltation of the Cross, a late Gothic single-nave building converted to Baroque style. The settlement of Vipavski Križ, once called Sveti Križ, is protected as a cultural monument and has a current population of 185 citizens who are slowly bringing a more modern pulse of life to the ancient town.
In the Vipava Valley, history and future go hand in hand. It is in this small valley that the aircraft of the future are produced. Here is the home of Pipistrel, the world-famous producer of ultralight planes, which is turning science fiction into reality. Theirs is the very first 2-seat electric aircraft in the world, as well as a revolutionary four-seat aircraft that offers the user a choice of 3 types of motor. They're also thinking about aircraft for personal travel that will replace cars and change the world.
Pipistrel is renowned the world over as the company that produced the world's first electric 2-seat airplane in 2007, the Taurus Electro G2. In 2011, they've claimed victory in one of the most prestigious aviation competitions, the 2011 Green Flight Challenge, which was their 3rd victory in NASA challenges. Their 4-seat electric aircraft, the Taurus G4, effortlessly made the required 200 miles with the highest energy efficiency.
This is proof that an electric aircraft can compete with a classic gasoline-powered one. At the moment, the aircraft is overtaking the automobile industry and setting new standards for cheaper air travel.
The Taurus G4 was the world's first 4-seat electric aircraft ever to take off. Some 15 people who worked on the project took 5 months to put together the aircraft from the original blueprint to a flying prototype. What is very important in aviation is the aircraft's stability and efficiency.
When developing this airplane, it was necessary to attain certain performance features that were just right, minimum drag and a good glide ratio. On the other hand, the plane had to retain its aerodynamic profile. That was the main challenge, because the plane's special configuration required that we find out whether it was going to fly the way we wanted it to.
Pipistrel aircraft are made of composite materials, including carbon, glass and Kevlar fibers. The Taurus G4 was created by combining 2 Taurus G2 fuselages, while the electric motor and propeller were mounted in between them. The 450 kilogram lithium technology batteries are evenly distributed along both fuselages and behind the electric motor.
I have flown this airplane myself, and I can say that it flies better than one would expect given its unique shape. Namely, the pilot doesn't sit in the center, as normally is the case, but 3 meters out of center, which needs some getting used to. But the airplane can be controlled in a normal way and flies in the usual manner.
The Taurus G4 is the biggest, heaviest and fastest electric aircraft in the world, flying at a speed of between 180 and 200 kilometers per hour. It can take 4 passengers, 700 kilometers far for mere €5. But it's not just the planes that are environmentally friendly. The company that makes them is too.
Ours are the most energy-efficient aircraft on the market. That's a fact. They have the lowest fuel consumption, produce the least emissions and make the least noise. It's only fair that they be made in an environmentally friendly building. Besides a solar power plant, our factory has as many as 11 systems for producing clean energy and for rational energy use. Of course, this can all be controlled via the internet. The system has been designed in such a way that it shifts energy from where there is an abundance of it to where there is a lack of it.
The Vipava Valley is a favorite with artists. At Cini Vrh, 1,000 meters above sea level, in the midst of intact nature in the pleasant shelter of the Vidmar homestead, artists from all over the world have been meeting for 20 years. More than 2,000 of them have participated in art colonies, leaving 1/3 of the artwork produced on the homestead, which is turned into quite a gallery. One of the artists who likes creating at Cini Vrh is Azad Karim, an Iraqi Kurd who found a new home in the Vipava Valley almost 3 decades ago.
Silva and Azad Karim are a successful artistic couple. They support and complement each other. They are sensitive to what is happening around them. They feel the joy and the pain of their fellow humans, and they digest these feelings and incorporate them into their works of art.
Čutim trpljenje ljudi, ne.
I feel people suffering. When I arrived at the ruins, I noticed that the color was gone. People don't live there anymore. There are no trees or greenery. Only the color of the earth remains, along with the ruins and the writing.
This is how Azad explains his latest project. Originally an ethnic Kurd from Iraq, he found a war-devastated landscape during his recent visit to his native land. 30 years ago he came to Ljubljana to study painting, having previously studied at the Baghdad Institute for Fine Arts. With him, he brought the ancient culture of Mesopotamia and the Tower of Babel as its symbol. The tower was recently the focal point of his installation dealing with war and refugees scattered around the world by fate. People without a homeland and without a place in the world. The installation tells the story of a man who writes his messages on walls along with traces of times gone by.
Old writing on buildings helps people to understand signs. I have my own signs, which I use to introduce people to my culture.
Silva Karim has a master's degree and is an art teacher. Working with children has a great effect on her way of thinking, and she has written a book about modern art. Great works of art for small artists, just for them. She's a sculptor, a painter, a printmaker and an illustrator.
Povsod sem to jaz, vseh teh področjih obravnavam isto temo.
In all cases, I'm still myself. Regardless of the field, I tackle the same subjects. The same gesture line, my characteristic line, appears everywhere and connects this creative media.
Sculpting and working with clay are her favorite media.
Ja, najbrž sem tak človek, da moram čutiti materialnost.
I'm the type of person who has to feel the material structure of the medium I'm working on. With sculpture and ceramics, there is pleasure when you feel art being created under your fingers. You feel a cut when you draw a line into an object. My paintings have an element of sculpture in them too. They have a profound structure and a strong presence of lines.
Silva Karim unites various forms of art and bases her work on analytical research. This is how she expands and replenishes her artistic language. The same is true for Azad Karim, who has a strongly expressive and highly recognizable style of artistic poetry. They are both artists for whom art and creative work represents a key to understanding life.
We're rounding off our walk through the Vipava Valley among carefully maintained vineyards, which are its most precious estate. It's been this way for 1500 years, ever since the Roman times. Despite the vast array of red and white wine sorts, wine growers are turning back to the old original wine sorts such as Zelen and Pinila. Among picturesque villages connected by the winding wine route, there isn't a homestead without its own wine cellar. The owners are eager to open them to visitors, and we're going to visit one of them right now for a sip of vintage wine. Old vaulted cellars with oak barrels, like the Trost cellar in the village of Slab, have a particular charm. In them, the intoxicating liquid flows down the throat particularly smoothly. Why don't you visit the valley yourself to have a taste of its specialities and its beauty? Goodbye and na svidanje.